Welcome to Magic Hour with Paul Chappell. I'm your host, and today we have the lovely Eve Taylor back to review Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And before we start, let me just go back in time a little bit to 2014 when the last movie came out. What did you think of that movie? That sets up
for a lot, and honestly, that movie depicted against other Godzilla movies, it was actually very well done, at least in my opinion.
Okay.
But again, everyone needs to know I am a Godzilla hardcore fan. He's my number one on all my lists.
So you're saying you're biased?
Probably just a little bit. But unfortunately, I do own all the Godzilla movies.
How many are there?
20-ish.
Really?
Yes. I have the original one in Japanese and English. I even recently, has been the hardest one to find, is Godzilla vs. King Kong. That one is impossible to find, and I happened to find it, but it's only the American version. So unfortunately,
well, you know they're doing that again, right?
I know they're doing it again, but here's where the thing comes in. There's two versions of that. One of them is the American, and then one's the Japanese. Japanese version, Godzilla wins. American version, King Kong wins. So that's where the depicting's going to be, because that's going to be really interesting to see. And I don't want to go too more into it because I might spoil the movie, because there was stuff I saw that was setting that up completely.
Okay. Well, I mean that was announced. What, like?
It was right after they announced this one, not too long after.
Yeah. So I don't know anything about Godzilla. Really, I don't even think I've seen any of the original movies.
Oh man.
I don't even think I saw the one that came out in the 90s.
That one, the 1996?
Yeah.
No.
You didn't like that one?
No.
Okay,
so if you're gonna watch that, you need to watch it completely, not even comparing to anything else. It is its own separate thing. Any Godzilla fan will tell you it's a piece of crap.
Okay.
It really is.
So my problem with this last film was the actors. I mean, maybe that was the whole point. They didn't want the actors to overshadow Godzilla, but they had Aaron Taylor Johnson in it, right? Mm-hmm. The guy that played Kick-Ass, and I was just expecting. It's like whenever I feel like I could do a better job than the main actor, you really missed. You really didn't do well. I mean, cause he had the same expression the entire movie. He had the sad look on his face. He would walk over here and say a line, walk over there and say a line. I'm like, I could have done. He probably got millions of dollars for that role, and I could have done a better job.
Now, am I wrong? Is he not the same guy who did Quicksilver in Age of Ultron?
Yes.
So they had Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Right. They were husband and wife
in this movie, and they were brother and sister in that movie, which to me was hilarious. But honestly, the director.
Yeah.
He was trying his best he wanted to kind of make it similar to the old Godzilla movies. And why I say that is, how much screen time did Godzilla have in that first movie? Do you know?
It wasn't a lot.
It wasn't a lot.
He was trying to build up the anticipation, right?
Exactly. He was building it up, but you also need to remember, or actually you don't even know, all the other Godzilla movies are exactly the same as that. Godzilla has a little bit of screen time.
Right.
And it's mostly all this drama that's going on with the humans. Oh, it's Attack of the City. What are we going to do? How to prevent it, or another monster coming in and Godzilla defeating it. And honestly, that movie was straight up like all the old Godzilla movies.
Okay.
So
he was being faithful to.
He was being faithful, and actually in this movie he was being faithful with a lot of stuff too, which I was appreciative of the first movie, because it really did. It was like watching another Godzilla movie, just it was made better. It looked better, visually appealing. I was like, now anybody else who's never watched, they're not going to know. They have no idea. If you're not going to take the time to go back and watch any of the old ones and then try to compare it, then yeah, you're going to be like, oh, this movie's crap. Like, yeah, the actors, they could have done a little bit better.
Well, see, they killed Bryan Cranston.
I love that they did that.
And I was like, what? You killed Walter White? And it's like...
But you got to think, though. They did almost the same thing with this movie. They got what's her name, Millie Bobby Brown? Mm-hmm. Who's the big thing right now because of Stranger Things? Yeah. Walter White, the big thing right then.
Right.
And honestly, I was so glad they killed him off because
there's not only him they killed. They killed off Juliette Binoche. What's her name? Binoche, the French actress playing his wife. You know, she goes downstairs in the reactor and he has to close the door.
Oh yeah. Yeah, immediately.
She's an Oscar.
First 10 minutes.
She's like didn't she win like an Oscar for like the English Patient or something? Or like got nominated at least. But they killed an Oscar.
I don't keep up with
Oscar nominated actress within like the first 10 minutes. And then they killed Bryan Cranston.
A little bit later.
And then you got Aaron Taylor Johnson moping around doing nothing most of the movie. And Elizabeth Olsen not really doing anything.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh no. And then I didn't see it in theaters. That's part of the problem.
Oh, I saw it.
I saw it. I saw it on this television, and everything was so dark, and it was like, what is going on?
It was meant to be more suspenseful because if you think about it, I have noticed with recent movies, they're way too dark.
Yeah.
Like, and if you watch them on anything else, unless you pull up the brightness, it is really hard to see a lot of things that are happening. Like, I don't understand why they make it so
the last one,
dark.
The last one had that problem. You couldn't tell what was going on. This one, okay, so we'll go into this one a little bit. That's one of the first things I noticed was that the directing, the totally different guy directed this one. I don't even have his name written down. But he did a way better job than Gareth Edwards. The plot moved a lot quicker. It was a lot more action. I can't say the characters were that. It's funny they killed another Oscar-nominated actor like within the first 30 minutes or something. I'm like, is that just their thing now? They're going to kill Oscar-nominated actress.
They want to kill the people you don't expect to die.
Yeah, but I mean, now I'm going to expect it if the next movie.
True.
But yeah, they did that, and
they killed off a few people in this movie.
They bring back 2 people from the last movie. Mm-hmm. They bring back 2 scientists.
They brought back 3. I think there was 4. I remember a third one. I think.
They brought back
the general.
One of the generals. Yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was smart because he contacted them and he was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this is a military problem now."
Yeah, and he was kind of like one of those background.
Yeah, he was one of the background characters, which I was fine with.
Yeah.
The last time he was a big, influential thing, and I'm just like, you're the problem. You're the reason why all this stuff kept happening. When if you would have listened to them to begin with, the whole thing that was happening with the first movie, it would have been differently. But let's not listen to the people who have been studying the guy.
Yeah. Well, let's. I'm go ahead and put up the spoiler warning. But okay, so we start off this movie and with this family who's been impacted by that because in the last movie, Godzilla has this fight in San Francisco and just decimates San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And we kind of had this opening.
It picks up right from there.
Yeah, but we had this family of, I guess they're scientists. What kind of scientists were they?
So they were actually working with Monarch the whole time.
Oh, they were? Okay.
They were part of Monarch to begin with. And we don't realize this until a little bit later on when they bring the dad back into the picture.
Yeah.
Because at first you're focused on just these 2. And you're like, okay, well, what's going on? Okay, I get that the dad's not in the scene anymore. They must have split. Find out that, one of their children has been killed.
Yeah.
And from there, I guess they both took different paths. He wanted nothing to do with it. He thinks it was Godzilla's fault that the kid died. She has a totally different agenda, and then it gets really deep from there, and you're like, oh crap.
Okay, so what the plot, this plot point kind of annoyed me because it seems like every freaking movie is doing something on climate change. And her thing is, at first you think she's a victim.
Yep.
They're watching. They found a like a pod or something for one of these titans.
They found the egg from Mothra.
Yeah. So they're watching it hatch, and they got a containment field. And the containment field fails, but she's able, and the soldiers, of course, decide they're going to shoot it, even though in the last movie we have learned over and over again, you can't shoot these things.
They do nothing.
But the first thing these stupid soldiers do is shoot the freaking monster. And it's like, but she's created this technology to communicate with the Titans, and she calms it down. But then some kind of terrorist groups
Bust in.
They bust in, take over everything. They kill everybody but her and her daughter. But then you find out.
Well, you find out later on that she contacted them.
Right.
But here's the thing. When they showed up to Antarctica, where they go to look at Monster Zero, I knew then she was working with them. And why I say that is everyone's like, my boyfriend was saying, he's like, how do you know? I'm like, first off, when they pull up, she tells her daughter not to look, to breathe, to focus. As they're coming off the airship, you notice that she's carrying the equipment. Any terrorist organization, if you're being hostage, they're carrying it, they're setting it up, they're pushing you where you're supposed to go. She was carrying it, she was walking with them willingly, not being pushed. They were protecting her as they were walking in. I'm like, she's working with them.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I did. And this, I guess, because I watch a lot of movies where like people are taken, and they're, of course, that's how a lot of movies and shows are taken, and they're forcing you to do stuff. She just walks with them, takes her daughter's hand, and just don't look, just breathe, just focus on where we're going. I'm like, the whole thing about how she just walks in, I'm like, she's working with them.
So they were dropping clues for you to.
They really were.
Okay, so I didn't catch that. That's interesting. But what do you think of the whole? They pretty much turned her into Thanos.
Yeah.
The Titans are good for humanity because we've gotten overpopulated, and we need to.
Again, it is a general like hand pat on the back for the first movies. Here's why.
Okay.
Godzilla was made in the 1950s in black and white, and it was all against World War II, the atomic bomb. The atomic bomb made Godzilla.
Right.
Godzilla's is our own doing.
It's kind of the Japanese were like,
yeah,
kind of still pissed off about Hiroshima. And all
Hiroshima. It's pretty much, they really did it to give people a visual understanding of what is happening in the environment because we did this.
Right.
It's not just, and there's several other movies that it actually goes on about global warming. It goes on about pollution and everything else. And they actually use Godzilla as a setup to make you understand the environment. What you're doing has an impact. It was just a thing for that because it was such an important thing at the time. They wanted people to understand, which is why the Americans eventually took it and they wanted to make it all their own too. And then, there's a whole story set up just for the environment. Godzilla is the thing that they're trying to make you understand. It is our fault that thing exists. Take care of the environment and all this. So with her bringing that up, it's the whole thing saying, we are the problem. Humans are the problem. If we actually stepped back and we thought about what we did, then it wouldn't be a problem. But we've gotten to the point that we're going to go extinct if we don't do something. Her solution is to wake up the Titans and have them destroy the Earth so that it can be renewed, which is the same, similar to the original movies. At least that's what I thought of when I was watching it.
Well, it kind of, and they explored that for a while, but then it kind of descended into these just monster fights.
Yeah.
That part I liked.
That's all I wanted.
that's all you
I
came for. So it was like, I got what I came for.
I mean, Godzilla had more screen time in this movie than he has in any movie.
Okay.
Any movie. And I mean that. Like, most of the movies, even the first one, I think 20 minutes was his screen time. The next movie, I think it was like maybe 22. Majority of his movies, he's only there for a little part in the beginning, maybe the middle, but always at the end, and then he disappears.
Yeah.
That's it. This movie, you're really just following him around.
Did it bother you that for some reason Godzilla is trying to help humanity?
No.
Is that his purpose in all those previous films? Because like I said, I don't know anything about.
I think it's the first 3. Godzilla's the bad guy.
Okay.
He comes and he destroys, and pretty much the first movie, the second movie, is pretty much him. Wherever there's radiation, he goes and he destroys it. That's his. He pretty much absorbs it and then he leaves. But the first one, he dies, which he dies by the oxygenator, the bomb I can't say it. The auction bomb. And that was actually, again, first movie.
That was something
first
they took
movie.
out. Oh, okay.
And then eventually it's more toward like the 1960s, 1970s, because there's different generations of Godzilla, because they're different. They have different looks. So they actually look different in each one of the eras. And toward the 70s, Godzilla actually eventually started becoming the good guy. He was actually helping us. Toward the 2000s, he was helping us. He was protecting us from space monsters and then the monsters that were there. And in this one, he works with Mothra. There are a handful of times he was fighting against Mothra, and then a handful of times he was working with Mothra.
Yeah.
So this whole movie, to me, I appreciated it so much because there was so much of all the other movies that I've loved and rewatched and just grown accustomed to seeing, that Godzilla's the bad guy, becomes the good guy. This one, all along, he's helping us. We just don't understand because we weren't trying to take the time to understand, except for Monarch, who was trying to understand.
Because I just kept asking myself, well, why is Godzilla helping trying to help everybody? And at a certain point, I was just like, you know what? Just watch the monsters fight. Why are you asking? Because as a critic, I got to ask all these questions. Why is this? Why is that? And just at the end of the day, I was just like, you know what? People are coming to see this movie, most of them, for the monster fights. And were the monster fights good? Yes.
Yes.
That CGI has gotten so great.
Oh, it was.
And I was talking about this in my Aladdin review. They had an animated Boo, and I went into that movie thinking, oh God, I'm gonna be so distracted by that. I didn't think about it one time when I was watching.
I haven't got to see that. I was actually gonna go see that later.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But the CGI in all these movies is getting so good that you're not even. I don't know at what point it just like switched over into this territory where you just your brain just.
You've gotten accustomed to seeing it to the point that you turn off the fact that you're looking hard for it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that, but in the past, I mean, because we've had CGI since Jurassic Park, and that was like 95, 96.
No, most of Jurassic Park was animatronics.
But I mean, the first, I think that was like the first.
I think it was The Matrix. I want to say it was right around the Matrix.
Matrix was like 1999.
Was it 99?
So, but what I'm saying is, I think Jurassic Park was the first film they used it really heavily because they had it a little bit, like they had it in that Star Trek Wrath of Khan movie.
Oh yeah.
Was like one of the first.
Yeah.
But it was only like in one scene. But Jurassic Park, they had it in multiple scenes. They had it, but you could tell. You go back and look at that movie, you can tell when you're looking at a computer generated thing, because you'll have, especially there's a shot of the scientists, and then you got the what's that Brontosaurus in the back.
Oh yeah.
And because they're blending the live action actors against that computer generated dinosaur, and you could tell that's computer. But in this movie, I was just like, there was a shot when the Japanese guy, he goes to activate the nuclear bomb, and he goes up to touch Godzilla.
He touches Godzilla, and that to me, it was like, I've always wanted.
But it looked real. I was like watching that, and like you could not tell.
You would not know that was CGI. It looked like his real scales.
Right. So, all that was great, and I mean, I enjoyed it. Like I said, the directing was great. My thing is the actors. The actors, they had some great actors. They had Charles Dance from Game of Thrones in it. When he came in, that first scene he came in, they just start shooting everybody. I was like, yeah. I was like, and he didn't die, did he?
Nope.
So
Did you stay to the end?
No, my wife was like, and see, this is the thing. I knew there was gonna be an end credit. I said, I know they're gonna tease Godzilla versus King Kong. But my wife fell asleep.
Actually, no, it wasn't for King Kong.
It wasn't?
Nope.
What was it? Okay, what was the end credit?
The end credit. Do you remember not the first one, when Ghidorah left Antarctica and he went to where Rodan was and they fired the oxygen bomb? Mm-hmm. Do you remember that Godzilla took off one of his heads?
Oh, okay.
The fisherman pulled up the heads, and your guy came in and bought the head from him.
Oh, okay. So, well, that's setting up something.
I know what it's probably setting it up.
What?
Okay, so I have two theories.
Okay.
And why I say this is because they left it way open in the first movie. Do you remember where they go to find where the Moto was staying first in that mine? Mm-hmm. You remember they found bones? Yeah. The first Godzilla? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, pan to the fact that they got the head of Ghidorah, there is a very high possibility we're going to have a Mecha Godzilla and a Mecha Ghidorah.
No, what is that? A mega?
Mecha.
You said mecha?
Mecha. It means they're going to be robots.
What?
Yes. One of my favorite Godzilla ones is Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla, and they use the bone structure of the first Godzilla to build Mecha Godzilla. You're looking at Godzilla versus like Pacific Rim kind of thing. Only using his bones as a structure. I don't know if it'll work for Ghidorah with just his head, but I have a very strong feeling they're going to try and clone him, copy him, do something with him, and try to keep his structure up. So I'm thinking Mecha. They call it Mecha, which is their way.
You think that's going to be in the next movie?
I think the one after versus King Kong, yeah. I do. I am hoping very strongly for it. Very strongly for it.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean...
Sounds kind of weird.
It sounds weird, but if you think of the concept of it, it makes sense. Because how else would you build a giant robot? Why don't we use the bones of the first Godzilla we found?
What did you think of Cal, what's his name, Cal Chandler?
Is he the scientist?
He's the divorced dad.
Oh, the dad. His name was Mark.
I was like, why is he in this movie? I was like, is he supposed to be the main
I don't
lead?
think he was meant to be the main lead. I think they just wanted somebody to come in, like, Run around and just pretend like you know what's happening.
Because I was like, what? I kept asking myself, like I do, what is his purpose in this movie? We could just have his wife, played by Vera Farmiga. I don't know how you say her last name, but she's been in a lot of stuff. I've always liked her as an actress. She was in The Departed. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
She has these great blue eyes.
She does, and that didn't make sense that her kid didn't have blue eyes, because it would make more sense.
Yeah,
I did notice that, because she was in the video. I'm like, why are your eyes so blue and everybody else is brown? This is still.
She's got some crazy blue eyes, but I just didn't understand why he was in the movie. The only thing I could think, they got to have some kind of male lead in the film. I was just like. Just like the last film, I had a problem with the male lead. I was just like, this guy he's not interesting.
Well,
he's not central to the plot.
He's not, but at the same time, I think I saw in a bunch of other reviews, or at least where people were writing stuff before they even saw the movie, where there's not enough human drama. And so pretty much he was supposed to be able to set up, I think, a really interesting story between the wife and the husband.
Because they go looking for the daughter.
They go looking for the daughter at the end, and you're like, okay, it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, we could have done without that whole thing. We could have literally just had it where she sets the machine up and goes here and here, and not even had anything else. But I think they needed a purpose to be chasing her. So to set up with maybe the husband going after her because she has the daughter. I think that's probably the only reason why they got someone to do that. Because why else? Because he started thinking of things that nobody else was thinking of. And I'm like, someone else had to be thinking of some of this stuff. Yeah. But he was probably the only one thinking rational at the point, because all he wanted to do was save his daughter.
But I was just like, why are they... This guy, he's more of like a television actor. And I was just like, I don't. I just, like I said, I kind of had a problem with him, just because I felt he was kind of bland. Like I said, I like that. Like the Aaron Taylor Johnson character in the last movie. I just felt he was kind of, and his wife was much more interesting.
Yeah. So
I was just like, and Millie Bobby Brown, she's the hot thing now, for Stranger Things and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So they did a little bit better with casting this time, but I just couldn't figure out why they chose him. I was just like, what is it about this guy that they thought would be...
Maybe he was the only one who accepted.
Oh, come on.
I mean, they got other people, but what's to say they didn't send out and try and cast a bunch of different people, and he was the one who came back and said, yeah, I'll do that part. And then eventually they got a bunch of other really important people, really more popular people.
I don't know. I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. I can't figure out what their... Because it's like those Transformer movies. You don't want... The movie's about
robots.
About robots or Godzilla. So you don't want the human characters to kind of overshadow what's going on with them. But you also, if you're going to do sequels, you got to have some characters that carry over, that are at least a little bit interesting. And they killed two of the main characters that they brought from the first film. So it's like, so who's going to be in the next movie? And I know Charles Dance they've already said that Charles Dance is going to be in it. Mm-hmm. But he was kind of like a bad guy. So they're going to have a sequel with the bad guy?
It's probably going to be, who was the lawyer tech guy that they had come in, who was really childish. He was like, follow me, I know where it's at. What was his name?
Is that the Bradley Whitford guy character?
Yeah. He handed him the book.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
He handed him the book.
Yeah, I like that actor. Now you could be right.
He was funny. I got a kick out of
because
he was super energetic the whole time.
He was in Get Out. He's been in a lot of stuff lately. Look at my cat over there trying to. She wants to be let out, but Yeah. He's been. I forgot about him. That could be interesting because he's one of those actors. He's a character actor, but he like brings his little.
He's very charismatic the whole time he was in that movie, so I have a feeling it's gonna be probably led down into him. If not, heck, we might even see the other guy come back. The dad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a setup for somebody to come in and take charge, but with the opening of the movie being that the government wanted to have access to what Monarch was doing, and at the end when the credits were rolling, it was actually shown where Monarch released everything that they knew to everybody. It wasn't just to the government, it was to everybody. They led up where they were, they led up what they know about them, and then, you know, after the fight, they all went back to being dormant. So, I mean, it's anybody's guess who would be taking control, but if anything, they might be working right under all the government.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they don't want a main character to follow throughout these movies because they got to spend so much on CGI for the monsters, yeah. And they're like, why bother with having to pay some guy $20 million to do another film? Because if they had a big name like Will Smith or somebody, let's say, you know, you're gonna have to pay that person more and more money. So instead of doing that, they get they get good actors, but then they kill off most of them between.
Which is the smart thing to do.
So I'm just trying to get into the psychology of why I just didn't find most of the actors they chose. Well, mainly the character that's supposedly the main character.
The main character
for want of a better term. And I felt like it was the women in this film.
I think so. I think they were trying to push more toward that way.
But she died.
But she died.
Yeah, so I'm like, what are they?
She was set up as the villain besides Ghidorah. So if you think about it, Ghidorah died, so did she.
Yeah. So I'm just puzzled about that. So what rating would you give this? 1 out of 5. I mean, 5.
1 to 5?
1 to 5, yeah.
For me, this is probably my new favorite movie. Like, I have to...
What do you mean new favorite movie? Of all time?
Of all time. Okay, you have to understand. I love Godzilla, and the fact they did so many things that just from all of his previous movies. They took a little bit of everything from almost every movie and put it in this movie and then just made them have at it and fight. Like, to me, I was just like in awe.
Okay.
So I say like 9.
All right.
I mean, acting aside.
9?
I give it a 9. I'd give it a 9. But again, my reasoning being is I could have cared less about the people.
Yeah.
I could have cared less.
That's the feeling I'm getting from this film. They didn't really care about the people either.
And I appreciate it.
Okay.
I appreciate it from a person who is all into the big monsters and the robots and stuff like this. To me, I loved it. I mean, everybody's gonna say what they like, but I personally loved it.
I would probably give it like I said, it was action packed, good directing, great CGI. The characters were a little bit more interesting this time around, but then they killed like the most interesting people.
But you got some really cool monsters that showed up.
Yeah, so I'd give it 3. I mean, I'd say it would be worth seeing if you
like action, explosions, and big monsters fighting, go for it.
Right. They actually, if you like monster, what's the word for it? Monster porn?
Is there a term for that?
For a lack of a better term. If you like monster fighting porn, this movie has it.
I'm turned on. Let's go.
If you like seeing monsters just... And they always duke it out in a heavily populated area. Mm-hmm.
At least it was evacuated. But
yeah.
I think if they
decimated San Francisco first movie. This movie they killed just.
They did Boston, Washington D.C. was slow.
Yeah,
water.
it's like Nothing.
Oh, man,
they just level it.
I like that. I think that was one of the things I really liked was Ghidorah was pretty much just like a hurricane wherever he went. He's literally a storm.
Right.
And he was from space.
Yeah.
He was an alien.
An alien.
They called him Monster Zero because in I think it's Godzilla versus the Astro Monster, he's actually considered Monster One. Again, like I said, they have little bits and pieces.
They made this movie for you.
Even the music. For Mothra. And toward the end, when Godzilla came and was fighting him the last battle, they played his original theme song, which is my ringtone on my phone.
And you're such a big nerd for this movie. What'd you bring over here?
I bought this last year, and I have not been able to find one of these anywhere. And I went to Disney and Epcot, and they have a little Japan kiosk, and I always like going in there because they have Godzilla figurines. And I actually haven't opened this yet. And I brought it because I thought it would be fun to open.
All right, go ahead, open it.
I did save myself the trouble and take the tape off first. Oh, looky! You got his, from the first movie, holding the Moto's head in his hand. You're gonna hold his fire blast? His atomic blast, I'm sorry. That's his atomic blast. Oop! I feel. I'm sorry. As a Godzilla fan, the fact that he actually moves.
The arms fell off.
His arm fell off, but it's supposed to, because you're supposed to interchange it, if I remember correctly. From what I remember. I could be wrong. It may have just fallen off and been me being throwing stuff around when I'm not supposed to. Well. Well, look at this side.
So you can't get the
I
arm
know,
off?
I can't get it back on.
Let me see.
It pops in there, but I don't have the strength in my hands anymore. Unfortunately. You know, there's directions for this. I should probably read it, huh? Oh, they're in Japanese.
I got a Japanese R2D2. It's actually a USB hub charger thing.
Oh, okay.
And it's about as badly designed as this because the legs always fall off.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I can't even get this on.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably have to force it. It's gotta make that pop pop.
Okay, I got it on.
Oh, did you?
I don't know how sturdy that is. And it's supposed to go in the
Yeah,
mouth
it
or
actually
something?
has a stand to hold up the fire.
Oh, the mouth actually opens.
Oh, beautiful. He's sexy and I like it. But he has a normal hand, but then he has this hand that holds up the...
No, my R2D2 is Chinese, man.
Is it Chinese?
Not Japanese.
I think the Japanese make better figurines.
Yeah, I think they would make something a little bit
I'm going to
better.
have to, like, play with it a little more, but he's holding
So that's
the head.
the head of the beast?
The head, the final scene of the first movie,
Oh.
where he opens its mouth and blows his atomic breath into the
Right.
body, and the head just kind of falls off, and he's just like, "That's right, bitch, I killed you." I thought in his terms, like, "That's right, you did. Now I got your head." Which, and again, in this movie, they actually have the head sitting there in their base.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty awesome. So, there we go. We got Godzilla with his atomic blast. So, Yeah, I want to set this up and I go home
You're
now.
the biggest nerd.
You have no idea.
I thought I was a nerd, but
You have no idea.
you've taken my throne.
I'll take it. I don't mind.
But on what else? You brought two things, didn't you?
I brought it's the original figurine. It's still in the box.
Oh,
I left
okay.
it over there because I wasn't gonna take it out of the box.
Okay.
Because it's one of those hard all the way around. Once I eventually get I'm gonna get like a cabinet or something, and I'm gonna put all my figurines because I have,
You got more Godzilla figurines?
yeah, and Optimus Prime, and Darth Vader, and Stitch. Those are my favorite characters. Those are my top favorite characters. Don't judge me. If you notice, they all have to do with some kind of destruction.
Yeah, see that. All right, well, so we're giving this what? I guess it would be a 4
Or 4 combined.
combined.
I'm
So
okay with this.
I guess it's a recommend. Go see it out in theaters. It's doing pretty well. I don't think it's doing so well overseas though. I read something really quick about it, so I don't know what that's about. But and if you look at the audience score,
The audience score gave it a better score than
the
what
critic. It's not getting rave critic reviews, so.
which
But it's pretty good.
again, it's probably the whole factor of that there's not a lot of a base story with the humans. It's all about the monsters, which, come on, it's called Godzilla.
Right. So that's all we got for today. I'd like to thank my subscribers. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. Give me a like. Give me a comment. Let us know if you agree with our review or if you don't.
It's okay, I won't hate you.
And until next time, we will see you when we see you. Thanks for watching.